What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Tratter Talk, a podcast centered around the country lifestyle and how to be a positive influence. My name is Nick Luciano.
I'm Roy Dinges.
Blake is still back home. This podcast is brought to you by Ariat, innovative and award-winning performance products for all types of outdoor work environments. Today, we have another special guest that just moved down to Texas. He just joined the team, Luciano, Team Tratter. We have Beau Deatrick. What's up, man?
Guys.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Happy to be here.
You like Texas so far?
I'm loving it.
How long was the drive down here?
It was 21 hours.
21. You split it up, right?
Yeah, we did it in 2 days. Stopped in Arkansas for one night, then finished up, came to Texas.
Why'd you go to Arkansas?
I don't know. We drove as far as we could go. That was about 14 hours.
Dang. And you drove with your dad, right?
Yep, me and Dad came down.
Yep. And now you are officially joining Team Luciano and Team Tratter as one of the management members. Yep. So we're excited to have Beau out here. So now you're in this whole social media world. We'll get into that a little bit later, but tell us a little bit about you. Tell us your background.
Yeah, so started out working on a farm when I was 14. When I got into high school, I worked 2 jobs, worked on a farm. I was a detailer at an auto shop. When I graduated high school, didn't know what I really wanted to do. My dad told me, well, until you figure it out, you're going to get a job. So I started working at a rock quarry about 10 years ago, and started from the bottom, worked my way up. I moved for the company 4 times. I've been in Virginia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. And it's been a long road, blue collar my whole life. Now I'm here taking a crack at social media. Never in my life would have thought I'd be doing something like this, but here we are.
Yeah, taking a leap of faith. So what did you basically do, like working? You worked at a coal mine, right, basically?
It was a surface limestone mine, yeah.
Surface. What did you do there?
So at the end, I was a plant supervisor. I was in charge of all the production and maintenance side. I've done everything from operating the heavy equipment, 992 loaders, 777 haul trucks. I've loaded train cars, unloaded train cars, been inside rock crushers, doing all kinds of maintenance, did a little bit of everything, but it was primarily everything's outside, out in the weather, and it sucks.
Yeah, I see some of your Snapchats, and I'm like, that looks rough. It's actually a funny story. Like, I just came to my brain, like, how we're all here right now, because I met you through Roy, and then how did you two meet?
We actually met through a cornhole tournament about, 7, 8 years ago?
Yeah.
So I had a buddy of mine I went to high school with, and he had a partner that backed out last second, asked me if I'd be interested, and I said, yeah, why not? And Roy happened to be there, and what actually got us together was baseball. I played baseball my whole life, and one day Roy said, hey, why don't we go somewhere, throw the ball around a little bit? And he said, hey, I got a buddy in New Jersey. Why don't you come out? We'll watch him play ball. Ever since then, me and Roy have been going on trips together. Every year we got a guys trip. So that's how that all started.
Yeah, I got to go on the guys trip. Yeah, I got to go to Colorado, and that's where I met Beau. And then we got to talking about, hey, because like you were saying, like, man, I really don't like my job. And I was like, you know what? We got this operation going down here, social media. I know it's a whole different world, but like, hey, let's take a shot at it.
Yeah,
you know what
absolutely. I remember like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm. It was like, there seems to be a running theme within the Tratter house, and ever since the beginning, like I've had him with Blake, I've had him with you guys. It's like whenever we go on trips or like we go somewhere, we get in a hot tub, right?
Yep.
And then all the business meetings happen in the hot tub. A few beers in a hot tub. It's actually pretty funny. So, but yeah, we're excited to have you down.
I'm excited to be here. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you've been here a couple days in Texas. Your dad loved it.
He didn't want to go home.
Yeah, he didn't want to go home. I don't blame him. So just the couple days that you've been here, now you're used to working long days in the cold, getting up at crazy times in the morning, or working late. How's the transition been from doing that to just a couple days here?
Well, one thing I have found out pretty quickly is just because now I'm not working outside doesn't mean it's not long hours. I mean, just yesterday, it was 9, 10 o'clock at night. We're still doing stuff for work. And I was like, man, I thought it was going to be more, But hey, it's not a bad thing. I will say the biggest benefit is not being out in the elements, the cold. If it's pouring down rain outside, I'm not crawling around in mud trying to, put bolts back in a guard or something like that. You can stay inside. So that's probably the biggest upside. Still a lot of long hours, though. People think social media, it's easy. You're just running around making TikToks all day. That ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned that pretty quick.
Yeah. Both y'all got thrown into the fire. It's just like crazy how, I just want to say it too. I'm just really grateful for y'all's help coming down here. Well,
it's quite a team. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What comes out of hot tub conversations, So your dad was here. He's never been around TikTok. I mean, just you and your sister, seeing what little there is there. He came down, he got to experience it firsthand. What was his thoughts?
He was mind blown. I ain't gonna lie to you. We go out to the bars at night. Everybody knows who Nick is, who Roy is, and I had told him all this stuff, but I don't know if he really believed it. But when he actually saw it in action, he was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And it was pretty weird for me, though, the first time, we're making a TikTok. And my dad's sitting there watching me do it. And I'm like, man, this is weird. Don't even look at him. Don't look at him. But no, he's really excited for me. My whole family's very supportive, which helps me out. They're my rock. So if they're on board, I'm good to go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that kind of like leads into another question that I want to ask is like, when we talk about like taking that leap, like you've worked in an industry for 10 years, similar how I've close to like 5-6 years in engineering. When you make a transition, like, what do you feel? What are the pressures? What does your family say? Like, what's the whole process when you make that, like when you've made this leap?
So like we started talking about this back last September. Mm-hmm. And I've been fighting myself since September to take this leap. I'll be honest, it's one of the scariest things I've ever done in my whole life. I've only ever worked outside, worked with my hands, and now this is a whole different realm. And after about 5-6 months, the worse my job got, it was, it's time to do it. I listen to a lot of other podcasts, motivational things, and it just keeps saying, if you don't take a risk, you're never going to go anywhere. If you're unhappy, you need to do something. Roy always told me, if you go so many days in a row and you're not happy, it's time to change. Mm-hmm. You can't expect a different outcome and do the same thing every day. Yeah. So I just finally one day, I'm doing it. And here I am.
That's awesome.
Took a lot of chirping from us too.
Oh yeah, Roy. About every couple days. When you coming? When you coming?
Yeah.
I know he'd point the Snapchat at me and I'm like, Beau, when you coming? Come on. We need you here.
The whole TikTok side of it. I know when I started, and I'm fairly new, just like you are. We started about the same time. I'm still a little in my comfort zone. If you ask Nick, I'm still a lot in my comfort zone. But I'm doing better.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing a lot better.
Yeah. I see when you're at home, you're totally in your comfort zone. But when you get around everybody else,
I got to walk away.
You got to walk away. And I'm sure there's a lot of TikTokers watching this podcast. What do you say to them?
There comes a time where you just got to step out of the comfort zone. If you want to be successful, you got to get over what people think about you, especially in this kind of work. We're making goofy, funny videos, dancing, putting wigs on. You're going to get made fun of. It's just the way it is. But who cares? It is what it is. You're doing what makes you happy, and that's all that matters. Everybody else, it is what it is.
Yeah, and that reminds me of what Roy was saying the other day. He was having a conversation with your dad about how, like, his learning experience with TikTok, how we put on a production when we make a TikTok. We're actual actors, and I got to give it to you. You're really good. Like,
he is.
Have you, like, the TikTok we made last night when you just sitting there pointing and dancing? Like, I would have never thought of that. Like, you put your own original twist on TikTok and creating content, and that's part of the reason I love it too. Because when you talk about TikTok and creating content, and I think it's really inspiring with your story and your story, just coming from something so different, and because everybody's a creator, You know what I mean? Everybody has a creative juices in a way. You have a vision for a video. You have a vision for a video. And I think it's a beautiful thing to watch. Like, because at your job, you're pretty much like, you know, told what to do. Like, you supervise people. You tell them what to do. Like, you don't really get to create much, if that makes sense.
No.
You don't get to create much. Now you kind of like, you get to mold these things. And as me, from an outside perspective, I get to see y'all work. And it's like, it's really cool. I get to see, like I said, I like studying people. So I get to know you guys a little bit better. So it's like, it's really fun to watch. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we go from TikTok to, let's go to another subject. Kind of crossed my mind. Of course, Caden, Blake, and Nick actually did it a couple of weeks ago. They all got on a bull. But Nick has done it before. Blake, Caden never have. You never have.
Nope, sure haven't.
But
I'm going to do it.
you're going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
You heard it right here.
So be on the lookout for that one.
Yeah. YouTube vlog incoming.
Is that something you've always, I mean, have you ever thought about it, or are we just throwing you into the fire?
No, I mean, a long time ago, you know, I used to do horseback riding lessons. You know, I wanted to do rodeo a long time ago. And then the reason that kind of stopped was work. You know, I was working 70, 80 hours a week. I was playing baseball still. I kind of just let it go. And then obviously being around you guys, going to the rodeos more often, seeing it, you know, it definitely sparked my interest again. And, you know, Nick, you know, he's telling me I'm a sis out, so I can't let that happen.
No, you'll be fine.
Got to do it at least once just to say I did.
I know. I mean, it's such an experience too, like just dropping down in the chutes. And I was like, it was so funny talking to you the other day about, like, I was doing my research. I was watching YouTube videos.
Yep.
And you're like asking questions about, like, so what are they doing there when they're warming up the rope?
I mean, one thing about me is if I'm going to do something, I want to do it the best I can.
Mm-hmm.
So if watching videos, I get a little technique that helps me out, I'm going to do it. I'm kind of a perfectionist. I want to do as best I can.
Yeah. So you say that you want to do the best you can. Where does that mindset come from, you think?
You know, honestly, I feel like, you know, my dad, the way he raised me, you know, if you're going to do something, do it with everything you got. And if you're going to just, you know, half-ass it, don't do it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think that's where that comes from. My dad, you know, he was tough on me, but it got me to where I am today.
Mm-hmm. I always think that's interesting, the influences in people's lives about, like, because everybody has different mindsets. Like Roy, his mindset is like, if he's set on a task, he's got to complete it, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, where does that come from? What influences that? So, and I think that's really part of, like, the country lifestyle too, about how you're raised, and, you know, that.
Absolutely.
Like, it's so funny. Everybody we have on the podcast, since it is country lifestyle centered, when we ask these questions about where does your mindset come from, it's like how I was raised.
Yeah.
I just think that's really, really interesting.
Yeah, it is. And back to the bull ride and the rodeo question. I don't know if you've ever been to a rodeo. Was the PBR World Finals the first time that you've actually been to, like, a professional bull
I've been
ride?
to some, like, up in the Harrisburg, like the farm show and stuff
Right.
like that. But I mean, as far as the real deal, that was the first one.
Yeah, pretty awesome, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a good time.
Well, you're going to get to come to a lot more.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Yeah, and you mentioned that like you always had, like, an interest in rodeo. What were some of, like, the events that you wanted to do back then? Did you want to always be a bull rider, or like?
No, honestly, originally steer wrestling is what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But they told me you got to learn how to ride a horse before you can do that. So I got on a horse.
There you go.
So I did that for probably about a year. You know, back then I could ride a horse pretty good. Roy might disagree, though, after our Oregon trip. But you know, we won't go into that one.
What happened on the Oregon trip?
So we went out, visited one of Roy's friends, Jesse, and we went on a horseback ride. We had some cattle we had to find, and long ride. And it got to the point where we were going through a big wooded area, and there was a fallen tree down. And I'm watching Roy's horse to see kind of what I got to expect. Roy's horse real slowly just steps over the log. I'm like, all right, mine's going to do that too. Wrong. This thing does a leap. I mean, my head hit the back of the horse's butt, and Roy's just looking at me laughing. And I thought, okay, I made it through. That's got to be the worst one. Nope. We go through, there's another one. Roy's horse does the same exact thing, just steps over real nice and slow. Nope, my thing is just hauling over top of this thing. I'm hanging on for dear life. Roy's dying. But the only thing I keep telling him is I didn't fall off. I stayed on.
He did.
That's the Oregon story.
I'm excited for that, to go out to Oregon.
Yeah, we're gonna trust me. You get there, you'll see a whole different way of life. That's for sure.
And you ain't seen mountains till you've been out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, do they compare to Colorado at all?
I'd say they're similar. It's just different, though.
Yeah, it's just a different aura, I think.
Yeah.
You know, but you'll see when you get out there.
Yeah, it's like, because, I mean, I always love, like, because the Western lifestyle and country lifestyle is so different. Like, we all grew up on the East Coast. It's just, like, it's a different vibe out here than Texas. Texas is definitely more Western. And then you got, like, when I went to Arizona, like, just doing stuff out in the desert. You know what I mean? I'm curious to see what it's like out.
Yeah, I remember telling Beau that we were up there on the mountain overlooking the Snake River, and it just peaceful, and the scenery out there is incredible. And I remember telling Beau, I said, if nobody believes in God, how can you not when you stand here and look out over this creation? It's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
I'm going to remember that. I want to see that view. You got to take me to that spot then.
We'll go there. It's one of our favorites.
Absolutely.
I want to talk more about like Texas. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about Texas?
It's a whole different world down here. Just the people are nicer, you know. I just like the lifestyle as far as how you dress, how people carry themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just feel like there are better people down here.
Yeah. A lot more trucks too.
Yeah, that's for sure. Ain't too many Toyotas.
Yeah. And the stockyards too. We're always in the stockyards, but man, your dad loved the stockyards.
Oh, yeah. He told me he loves it better than Nashville.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I think the stockyards are like, they're definitely not as crowded as Nashville.
He don't like crowds at all.
Mm-mm.
No. I mean, I don't either.
I'll take the stockyards any day over.
I mean, like when
Nashville.
we were at Nashville last time, I mean, there was some time, I mean, your shoulder to shoulder can't even move.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bars here, like, I mean, not to say that we could go out and party all the time, but I'm just saying, like, the bars are just more like Western or rustic. Like, we went to the White Elephant, Cowboy Channel. Like, you just don't find bars like that, like, back to back to back to back. And, like, it's so cool to see, like, the tourists come through. And I think it's just really, like, it's just so cool to see other people enjoying this lifestyle. And I think that's really kind of our mission here too at the Tratter House. Like, we've brought in a lot of people like Bailey Zimmerman, and now you're actually like working with us, and you're learning about this lifestyle and pretty much like going headfirst at it. I just think that's really, really cool how we can give back to people and teach them about this lifestyle. If you know what I mean, like, if there's one thing that you've learned about this lifestyle, like what would it be?
Well, definitely on the dressing part, because Nick's got on me a couple times about how I'm not dressing up right. I threw my mom under the bus the one time, too, because I'm actually the one that told her to sew them collar down on the vest that you yelled at me about.
Oh, it comes out.
I wasn't going to tell you that when you got on me about it.
Man.
But no,
Now
I've learned.
I feel bad.
I've learned, you know, with your jackets, your vest, pop collar, just the way it is, you know.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm not one to like judge how you dress, but like,
You were teaching me.
yeah, I was teaching you, like, you don't sew your collars.
You know, back home, though, if you're walking around with a pop collar, you know, people are like, what's wrong with this guy, you know?
Well, yeah, that's also too. We talk about a lot on the podcast. Back home in PA or Maryland, you wear a cowboy hat anywhere.
You're a weirdo.
Yeah, it's
You know,
kinda
and it
like, you get
shouldn't
the
be like
looks.
that, but it's just the culture. It's a whole different culture.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to say like we judge how you dress. I'm just saying, like, it's a culture. You know
Oh,
what
I
I
know,
mean?
I
Like,
know.
and that's why I told Blake too, because he comes from Southern Illinois, and like Royce taught me how to dress too, just kind of passing it down. You know what I mean? Especially with the stacked jeans look and the starch. Like, there's people who start out like Blake's finally coming around.
So about Texas, now that we're on that subject, I know growing up as a kid, I've always wanted to move to Texas. And then I started riding bulls, and then it got better, and then started traveling the country. Got to Texas, loved Texas, and now I'm here. Have you ever thought about moving to Texas before this?
I actually told my dad on the way down here, I said, if you'd have asked me last year, 5 years ago, I'd be living in Texas, I'd have called you crazy. But I always told you I wanted to come to Texas.
You did.
And then once I got down here and saw what it was all about, I was like, yep, I can see me living there.
Well, your first time in Texas was last time you were here, right?
January.
January.
I've been here twice before this, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I always knew I wanted to live in Texas. I always had like, when I transferred colleges, I went to UNT. It's so funny. As soon as I got here, I knew I wanted to move here. And all the people we have at the Tratter house, they always say that too. You know what I mean? I've been here like a weekend. They're like, I'm moving here. And a lot of people actually want to do moving here.
I mean, it didn't take me too long. It's only been 3 months. By the time I was here the first time, I'm living here about 3 months.
All right, so we'll roll into our next section here, which is called Arid Affirmations. It's been actually a really popular segment on the podcast. It's basically where we put out a poll on our Instagram story for people who are struggling with things and just asking for advice. And just as always, a PSA, we're not mental health care experts or psychiatrists or anything like that, just based on our experience of what we've been through. So this question is actually really related to the topic we kind of touched on earlier, but we can kind of go deeper with it. The question is from our Instagram story. It says, a career I hate, in all capitals with 2 exclamation points. A career I hate. Advice on totally switching it up. And we can go to Beau on this one because you just did it.
Yeah.
So,
one thing looking back now, if you got a good job, you're making good money, you got the insurance, all that stuff, in the grand scheme of things, that's really not what's important. You can have all the money in the world, but if you're not happy, it doesn't mean anything. And that's one thing I struggled with. I had a good paying job, and the thought of switching things up and not making as much money scared me. I'm like, hey, this sounds like a dumb move. But I kept telling myself, Roy kept telling me, my family told me, we just want you to be happy. And with my job, because I hated it so much, I kind of went down a dark road. I really started to abuse alcohol. There were days I'd come home from work, open up a bottle of 100 proof whiskey, and I'd drink the whole bottle. I'd wake up the next morning laying on the floor. And not a lot of people know that about me. I'm ashamed that I even got to that point. I had a failed relationship because of it. I was so obsessed with my job, trying to make things work, trying to get my boss to approve of me, even though I never did anything wrong. There was one day I worked 28 hours straight. I got there at 4 o'clock in the morning, and 5 o'clock is when I was going to leave. Well, we had a conveyor belt rip, and we had a new supervisor on site, and he had no idea what to do. Because I cared so much, I stayed. I didn't leave till 10 o'clock the next morning, and I worked the whole time. It wasn't like I went and took a nap. 28 hours straight. I'd get home at night. The night shift supervisor would call me. Hey, man, the cylinder on the crusher just blew out. We're done. And I remember it was 9:30 at night, and I got the call, jumped in my truck, drove an hour to work, stayed all night, made sure the plant was ready to go. And because of my obsession with trying to make a job that I hate work, it ruined my life. I got to the point where I ended up having to go to therapy because I just lost myself. My confidence, self-image. I was drinking alcohol. I fell apart, and it wasn't worth it. For a year and a half, I killed myself for nothing. So my biggest advice to somebody, if you hate your job, you're spending every day, you wake up, you can barely get out of bed, you got to try something else. You're not going to know until you try, but being happy is what's most important. You only live once, so you might as well do it happy.
Yeah, I didn't know all that. That's actually thanks for sharing that. That's really powerful because a lot of people I know, I can relate to it because, you do the same thing over and over and over again. It just gets repetitive. And it's kind of what you said earlier in the podcast where you do the same thing over and over again expecting different results is literally the definition of insanity.
Yep.
So it'll drive you crazy. And there are points where you love your job. There's highs and lows, but it's ultimately, if it's not like something you want to wake up every day and like give it your best at, it's just like, it's not meant for you. And I think that's what people like. They want to find a job that's meant for you. And it's like, it all boils down to like your purpose and what makes you happy. And everybody, finding their purpose is different. And it doesn't have to be like one specific thing. Like a lot of people think that, what my purpose is, being the best, freaking songwriter ever in life, because you can songwrite forever and kind of hate it. You know what I mean? You can do the same thing over and over again and hate it. But I've learned that my purpose is more broad. It's literally like just improvement. No matter what I do, my purpose is to improve, be the best at it, and always find new ways to make it fun.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
What I mean? I'm never just going to drive myself crazy trying to be the best at one thing. I'm going to know my limits. I'm going to know my expectations. I'm going to do what makes me happy, and obviously step outside my comfort zone a little bit to excel at it. But I'm never going to drive myself to that point where, because I've learned in engineering too, like I went to my desk every morning. I'm sleepy, man. Like I'm sleepy and I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And days and days and days go by. And I had the same conversations with my coworkers too, about like, maybe this just isn't meant for you. And I went to school for it. I was similar to you. I went to school for it. I got a 4.0 GPA because I wanted to show everybody like I'm smart. Like I wanted the approval. Like, hey, I'm good at this. Like, give me the job because I need the money to like be successful. And it just ultimately boils down like you got to do what makes you happy.
Absolutely, 100%.
So,
and another thing is, which one thing I struggled with when I was going through that, like it's okay not to be okay.
mm-hmm.
If you need help, get it. Don't just keep going down that rabbit hole. So,
yeah, that's for sure. Beau, I know you and I have talked about this because I know the situation with your job, and I know people need to work, but find something that you're passionate about, that you love, and like I said, you won't have to work a day in your life. Well, here's the thing, I don't understand why people go to work miserable every day, get through it, and do the same thing over and over. Like, what good does it do a man to lay up treasures, to work his whole life, to save money, to pay bills? What good does it do a man to do that and not enjoy life? It's all in vain. If you don't enjoy life, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's all in vain.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is never promised. Enjoy what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And, whether it be a job or you're in a toxic relationship, you're in an abusive relationship, or anything that makes you unhappy, even a bird in a cage will sing, because you'll learn to love anything.
Mm-hmm.
You need to break out of that cage. You need to get out and live life to the fullest. Enjoy your life. That's one of the best things. I've never thought about it until I've heard that we get so used to being torn down, whether it be at work or in a relationship, and you get used to it. It becomes a norm. You become complacent. And like I said, a bird in a cage will even sing because he learns to love it.
Yeah.
It's like what is that song? You can learn to love anything.
Yeah, you can learn to love anything. Even a bird in a cage will sing.
I love that song. Look at Roy dropping wisdom bombs.
I like that.
He's like, oh, I don't understand. He gets fired up.
Yeah,
I don't understand it either. And I'm so grateful that I have like good like you guys around me too, and like even help you. Like I feel so like it was a proud moment to help you get out of that, if that makes sense. Because I seen what you went through, and I'm just like, man, that wasn't healthy. And I just wanted to quickly touch on, like you said, you went to therapy, right? Like, what are some good like? I've personally never been to therapy. What are some good like resources? Like, what when you're seeking therapy, like, what is something that you looked for? Like, how did it go, basically?
Well, the first thing is there's a lot of different kind of therapists out there. I mean, they specialize in all kinds of different things. So I look for one, confidence, self-esteem, anxiety, depression, all that stuff. And I just picked one I was close to my job because I'd go right before work, and then I'd go to work. I'd try to make myself feel better and go to work. And she gave me some techniques. One of the biggest things that really helped me out was there was 3 questions with any situation you got to ask yourself. And the one is this helpful? Is it true? And would you recommend it to a friend? So if somebody says something, bad about you and it upsets you, well, is it true? Well, if it's true or not. So if it's not, count that out. Would you tell your best friend the same thing? If you wouldn't, then you get that out. And it started to, in my mind, I could kick stuff before it even upset me or I got anxious or whatever. Because I'm a huge overthinker. For anybody that knows me, I'll think of 1,000 different scenarios when nothing's even going to happen. I do it. So that really helped me kick that habit, and sometimes just talking to somebody makes you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter who it is, but it was nice for me, a third party person, didn't have any kind of bias to them at all. If you talk to your family, obviously, no matter what, they're on your side, but if I was wrong, she would tell you. Or if you do something wrong, hey, here's how we're going to get better at this. And there for a while, I'd go once a week. And that really helped me just to get things out. Because I'm the type of person, too, I hold everything in.
Yeah.
I bottle it up, and then, you explode. You can't hold it anymore. So just having that out, just to get it out of me, really helped me.
That's awesome. So what were those 3 things again? Is it true?
Is it true? Is it helpful? And would you recommend it to a friend?
There you go. You right now, if you're struggling right now, ask yourself those 3 questions right now. You do it. Mm-hmm. Well, I hope that helped.
And here's the thing that I wonder, and to me, I've never gone through any of that anxiety, depression, and if I was at a job that I didn't like, I was gone. But I know everybody's not the same. When, of course, you had good people around you, motivating you, lifting you up, giving you good advice. Someone that's in your position mentally, like you were, what triggers that to say, okay, I'm moving on? Well, do you have a defining moment in your life that you said, I'm going to do it?
Well, because of the situation I had at work, it kept kind of building up until it kind of exploded. And I was to Texas twice. I loved it down here. You guys, we were talking all the time. And that last moment where my job told me, hey, either you're transferring or you're going to have to do another job because basically your boss doesn't like you. That's kind of what it got down to. I was like, this is it. If I'm going to do it, now's the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think somebody that was in your position, or still is, I think they look for every excuse to stay there.
Oh, 100%.
Instead of every excuse to get out of there.
The one thing that I messed up with was it's going to get better. Just give it more time. It's going to, fix itself. And then something else would happen. Well, I'll just give it 2 more weeks. Give it another month. But after you do that for 6 months, you just wasted 6 months. Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be bad days. You're going to get an argument with somebody at work. People are going to say bad things about you. That's just part of life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when it's so many days in a row, or if it happens so consistently, it's time to go.
Yeah. And it's like a part of me, like, we talk about getting lost in that. It's crazy to me. Like, when I was in engineering, I would talk to my coworkers about this. They're like, I spend more time with you guys than I do my actual family. And I'm like, how sad is that? You know what I mean? To go through life working, like, people work 40 years of their life and spend more time with people they don't care about for a paycheck than they do their actual family. That's just sad. And it just reminds me of the quote, because we talk about, like, just living your life. I would rather plan like my life's work than plan my life around work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what so many people get lost in. Like, okay, like you said, just give it 6 more months, give it another year. Like, I could just keep planning around. I can keep planning around it. But no, you're
delaying it.
You're delaying it. You got to go after your life and start planning that. It's kind of like treating the symptoms and not the disease.
100%.
You just gotta go after it, balls to the wall.
Because now I waited all this time, and I'm wishing, man, I should have just did it 3 months ago.
Yeah. I think that's a good note to end it on. Or you want to say something else, Roy?
No, it's perfect. And we talked about regrets on here before, and that's it.
Yeah.
Have no regrets.
Have no regrets. So I hope I thought that we had some really good conversations. Beau was it was really I know we haven't known each other for terribly long, but thank you for sharing that on the podcast.
Absolutely.
It really is going to help a lot of people out there. You would not believe the messages we get about people in the same situation as you, and your story is really powerful, dude. So thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Especially those tips like going to therapy and stuff like that. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, that was a great note to end it on. Thank you all for watching so much. If you guys have time, make sure to go rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you to Ariat for hooking it up and helping us with the production of this podcast. We love the section Ariat Affirmation. It really has helped a lot of people, and today's obviously been one of the more helpful sections, I would say. Beau, where can they go follow you on your socials?
Instagram's Beau Deatrick. TikTok, same thing, at Beau Deatrick.
Awesome. You can follow Tratter House and Tratter Company. All the socials will be listed on the screen. You can follow me at the Nick Luciano on pretty much everything. You can follow Roy on Instagram at
Roy_Dinges, and TikTok is Roy Dinges.
Awesome. Well, thank you all again for watching. This has been another episode of great wisdom from Roy and an awesome story from Beau. I look forward to the next episode. We never know what we're going to hear, what stories that are going to amaze us next. So, again, thank you guys. And don't forget, smile every day.
And know your worth.
All right. See y'all.